Hey everybody, producer Kathy and I got a chance to chat with Rafe Judkins, showrunner over at Amazon Prime Video, and it was a ton of fun. We learned a ton of new stuff about the upcoming season 2 of The Wheel of Time, and some stuff about Rafe himself, like, what his favorite dinosaur is. We had some great questions that we asked during the interview, most of which were submitted by users, and I look forward to chatting with him again in the future. Come check it out. Hello everyone and welcome to Dragonmount. I'm Thom DeSimone, and recently producer and magical unicorn Kathy Campbell and I had the rare chance to interview Rafe Judkins, showrunner over at Amazon Prime Video. Now you might recognize his name from shows like The Wheel of Time, but he's also, we learned during this interview, going to be showrunning for the God of War adaptation. Really excited for that. He was a ton of fun and he was really nice, and we got a chance to ask some great questions, most of which were submitted by users. This was a rare live interview that Rafe did with us, and we were honored for the trust that they placed in us of not trying to put him on the spot with anything too crazy. If you don't follow us on Patreon, go check it out. There's some really fun behind the scenes stuff from filming these videos, and with no more preamble, let's check out what Rafe had to say. As you can see, I am joined by the lovely and amazing executive producer, magical unicorn Kathy above me over here, and there's this like very weird kind of blank space in this area. I don't know. Maybe someone special should be coming in there.
I don't know. Are you guys? Do you want to?
Oh my God! Look, it's Rafe Judkins!
Oh my God! What a surprise!
Guys, that paper reveal was flawlessly pulled off.
I am super professional at this. I don't know if you know that.
It's good. It's good. It's good. Thank you so much for being here, Rafe. We're so excited.
No, I'm so happy to get to talk to you guys. It's so good to see you.
Yay.
And thank you for answering those questions when we were doing that rewatch stuff. That was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was really fun. It's just, like it's always great when people are able to go back and watch through it. And there's so many thousands of things that we've thought about and done that we had fun because we're in the writer's room for season 3 right now in London. And so a couple of them too, I took back into the writer's room and was like, guys, what were we thinking on this one? Remember what we did with this? Can we tell them this? No, we can't.
I love that you tried though.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, shall we get started? Let's go.
Yeah, go right in.
Go.
So we got you in the hot seat now. So we're gonna we got to ask the hard hitting, right down to the meat of it questions.
That's how interviews start, straight off the bat, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So right off the bat, what is your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur has always been the Pachycephalosaurus.
Ooh.
Nice. And what a fun name to say. That I think
Yeah,
that's
I
my
was like,
favorite thing about dinosaurs.
I know how to spell it. Do I know how to say it out loud? I'm not.
You know how to spell that? There's way too many repeat letters in that for my dyslexia to keep up with. It'll be.
All right. So now that we've gotten that off the
Yep.
bat, we're gonna probably get wafoed, but we're gonna, we're gonna try.
There could be a fair amount of that. We haven't been able to do like an interview with people who really know this stuff for a while. So if I hate you with too many waffles, then I apologize.
Absolutely
That's fine.
Not. And by the way, thank you so much for doing this live with us. We know this is not something you do normally or almost ever. So thank you.
No, great. We finished Writer's Room yesterday, so for the first time in a while,
Ooh.
I had a day off.
That's exciting,
It's
and
the
you're
holidays.
spending it working. We really
this is
appreciate it.
amazing.
Well, I know you probably won't tell me to have an affair with a German Shepherd, so I'm going to ask this right now.
We'll avoid that.
We saw a recent report from Delhi Comic-Con suggesting season 2 would be premiering in early 2023. Is there any truth to that?
I can say that there's some truth to it, in that I do believe season 2 will be premiering in 2023. I think early, there's still a lot of work that we've got to do on the show, in post, VFX, all of that. So I would not expect it in early 2023, but you can't expect it in 2023.
Excellent.
That's good because I'm really excited and I can't wait. Thank
Yeah, I feel like every month we'll be actively shooting an episode, and they're like, "There's a spoiler online that it's coming out next week," and you're like, "We haven't shot
We're
it.
still
It's
filming."
We're still and if there's speaking of releasing and television shows for Amazon, I feel like if I don't ask this, we may get harangued endlessly in chat. So it was also recently reported that you are going to be heading as another showrunner for a recently picked up series. I believe it's called God of War, maybe?
It
Some
is
people
called
might
God
be
of War.
interested
Yes.
in that.
Yeah, well, it's funny for me. I mean, this is something I've been working on for a long time with Mark and Hawk, and so the announcement just came out, but it's something that we've known about and been involved with for a while. So it's like, it's really exciting. I love the games. I love working with those two guys. They're great, really smart. I love The Expanse. I'm sure many others are fans as well. Iron Man, also a good film. Don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Once or twice, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe years ago.
No, so it's great. It's a really it's just a really fun project to work on. And I've always worked on other stuff while I'm working on Wheel, so it'll never affect like my commitment to Wheel, obviously. But it's something that I'm really happy to be working on because I really love it, and it's also really different than Wheel in a lot of ways. So it's a good balance to do between the two.
Do you think there's anything that you can take that you learned or experienced in Wheel of Time over to that show in any way, or?
Yeah, so much. I mean, that it's a very different project and medium to adapt. So in a lot of ways, things are very different than adapting something like Wheel of Time, but especially from a production perspective, like we've just learned so much. And, the world, when we first started filming Wheel of Time, it was kind of only Game of Thrones that had attempted something so large before. And so now there's so many shows that are doing it. I've gotten to know a lot of the showrunners of those as well. There's so many really smart women and men who are doing this and figuring out how to put these things together. And so I think, if anything, I've learned a lot about the production aspect of it that will, I think, be useful in going into God of War, and also flick back into Wheel of Time, hopefully, of like things that we can find out about that. Because, the fun thing about making film and TV is that it's always changing and there's always new technology, new cameras, new things that you can use to bring these worlds to life. So it's fun. It's fun to be able to do both.
Kind of like that Bolt camera that you used for the...
Yeah, exactly. Like the things that I was going to say something that I definitely can't say.
I swear that's not our goal. I promise.
No. I'll be careful. I have to twist my words a lot. It's
yeah, I'm sure you're used to it.
I've sworn way more than 3 oaths to Amazon though. But yeah, we're doing just that with season 2 and 3 now. I can say, at least, where we have some fun new kinds of technologies coming.
Excellent. Can't wait to hear about it. Along those same lines of lessons, Sean was wondering, what major lesson did you learn that you took from season 1 that helped inform your process or the structure or the setup or anything for season 2?
Yeah, I think season 1 coming in, we had a very clear plan of doing a longer season to tackle that and had to compress it. And so going into season 2, we tried to be, obviously I have my long-term plan for the show. And so that all shifts with 8 episodes instead of 10 episodes. But going into season 2 with more foreknowledge of how long it would be, we were able to try to figure out ways to get longer episodes in, figure out how to get more of the story that we need to tell. Because we have, if we had a lot of story to tell in season 1, we have a massive amount of story to tell in season 2. It's,
it only gets bigger
traveling at times. And so I think a big lesson we learned was being able to approach it from the beginning like that. And in some cases, changing the story more in order to be able to get through the whole story more effectively. So it's kind of a counterintuitive thing where I feel like sometimes we can actually pull off some of the story pieces and delivering on things from the books more effectively if we don't try to hit every single tiny beat of it, because the adaptation we're doing is just at a different scale than other things in terms of like the amount of page, we're trying to do, if we get our whole series, we're doing like 200 pages an episode versus Game of Thrones 50 pages an episode.
Right.
You have to sort of like, it's a little more, I know people are probably shaking and dying in the chat right now, but like there's more remixing kind of sometimes to be able to deliver the story overall so that you kind of get to,
I imagine it like a jigsaw puzzle that you're kind of making as you go.
Well, and a piece of it too is like, for season 2 especially, one of the first things, Brandon, I think I can say all this. Oh, but I'm going to. Sorry. But when I first talked to Brandon Sanderson about the show and my worries about the overall adaptation, I was like, one thing I'm thinking about is that books 2 and 3 both have the same narrative arc, essentially, of landing with Rand in a confrontation from a man who will come to realize is Ishamael. And like, how do we... You can't do that in television 2 seasons in a row because that doesn't work in that context. And he said the same thing of like, no, you have to combine those two, even though there's these incredible stories that are in both of those books. If you told them sequentially like that, it would sort of break it down, which was his same instinct as well. And so I think one of the big challenges we face with season 2 is it's sort of like, I think you'll feel this when you watch it, is almost like we throw up some of the juggling balls at the end of season 1, where it's like, okay, here's a bunch of pieces that we've put in play. This is the foundation here. All the pieces go up. And by the end of season 2, you'll see them start to all land in places that set up the Shadow Rising. But a lot of those are taking different paths than you might have anticipated from the books, because we can't tell those 2 books sequentially, even though I love the stories in both of them and they're really strong stories. You just structurally can't do that.
Of course. And the best part about that is like we get to go on this journey through the Wheel of Time again, where we thought we were never going to get any more content. And it's like especially for someone who's been in the reading it for like 20 years, it's like new Wheel of Time content that I get to be surprised by.
Yeah.
So the next question was submitted by an anonymous user, but it is a great question. The diversity in the writer's room and behind the camera with the crew has been praised by the community. Has the diversity perspective enriched the show's production in any way that you'd like to share?
I mean, in so many different ways, and I always think of diversity as like a much larger category than how it's sometimes talked about in online communities of like, when I'm putting together the writers' room, I'm thinking about people who also have diversity of thought, who are, are they comedy writers? Are they, people who are really good with structure and investigative beats? That kind of thing we're also putting into it. And one thing that was important to us, especially first season, was sort of like, a lot of Western cultures do not believe in reincarnation. So it's not something that's like ingrained in us from the beginning. So a big thing I was always trying to do with the writer's room was like, get us in the headspace of our characters who all believe in reincarnation. And it's just like a fundamental piece of their life. And so we had a writer on the show, Celine Song, who grew up in Korea. And she was very helpful sometimes of being like, oh, like my family believes in reincarnation, like everyone I know does. And this is how it sort of filters into our daily life, as opposed to just like the big ideas of the mythology of it. It's like, what do you think when someone yells at you? Like, and how do your beliefs, how are they affected, and how are your interpersonal relationships affected by that? So she was really helpful, for instance, with the Randon and Gwaine storyline of like, they have this idea of souls kind of brushing across each other in lives, and that like sometimes you'll have a very strong relationship with someone and that it's not going to be for this life. Sorry, spoiler alert for anyone who's in this chat and doesn't know the Wheel of Time. I don't know how we're
full book spoilers.
Yeah. So, if you're there. But but you know, like those two characters won't be together in this life. And so that idea of like, you have to build a certain number of brushes in your life before you're in your past lives before you're ready to be with someone. And that like, philosophically, we could think of Randon and Gwen's relationship as like one of those brushes on their way to being together in a future life. And so that kind of stuff from like a writer's room that has a strong diversity of thought and culture and backgrounds, it can really bring a lot to the show. And I think it has to ours.
I agree.
Absolutely. So along those same lines, we see several ritualistic, almost religious-like practices on screen. Stepin burning incense to ward off the Forsaken, as well as Lan praying in episode 4. What is the thought process for expanding this on screen when in the written work there is far less a portrayal of an organized religion?
Yeah, and we kept that very like clear always with the production design team and with the story team, is that there is no organized religion in the Wheel of Time. However, there are very strong cultures in the Wheel of Time. And what are some of the ways that we could see those cultural practices come into play? And so, you know, you see them in a lot of the scenes too. There'll be like little, we call them like sort of like ritual stories on screen, where there's like something in the background of a scene that sort of suggests this backstory of culture for a place and a history of life there. And I do think those are in the books, like even the maypoles in Two Rivers. Like there's so many examples of this that are sort of like these pseudo ritualistic, you know, pseudo religious ritualistic things that happen. And so I think trying to find ways to bring those into the show was really important for us, and see, you know, create a world where, for people who don't know the books at all, they're able to subconsciously and subtly take in the idea. You know, you ask most people who don't read the books about religion in the show, and they're like, I don't think there is a religion, but like people come from different places, and you can see that they care about those things. Like that scene with Lan and Stepin, we don't say it, but you can tell from how it goes that this is not something that Lan does, but it is something that Stepin does. And so they must have different upbringings and different places that they come from. So there's a lot of like that subconscious world building that we're trying to do too, with not just the way we wrote it, but the way that it's produced, so that, you know, the things that you take in with the many pages of information about this in the books, like we can feed those things subtly through the show, so that actually, you know, an audience who knows nothing about the books has built that foundation in their brain for how this world works, even though we've never had a scene about it.
Yeah.
I like that. And coming, having spoken to a few people that haven't read the books and have only watched the show, I think that comes through pretty strong, because they've said they've picked up on some themes that you would really only be able to get from reading the books, but from, you know, just watching the show. And I think that does come through pretty strong.
Yeah, thanks.
So our next one is from another community member. This one this one should be a little bit easier for you. And
It's
only,
it's great.
I know. So only taking into account the books, having no impact on the show whatsoever. Just, you know, your love of the books. Is there any particular? And this is from. Oh, they didn't write there. Are there any particular minor characters that you're passionate about?
Oh, I mean, I really like Pavara. So I don't know. I mean, she may find her way into the show. Also, Brandon does too. You know, like there's a couple of those characters. There's some of the Aes Sedai characters that I am just like unduly obsessed with, and some of the wise ones as well. That you just like, they end up bleeding their way. I think actually the fans of the books it would be so wild for them to hear the writers' room talk about some of these characters, because there's truly like, because we have a very big mix also of people who know the books versus don't know the books, versus have read some of the books, is that it's it's like the level of detail that people know these characters. Like everyone in this writer's room, some of them who had never heard of the books before coming to this show, know every name of Leandrin's Black Aja Cabal. And they're, you know, I mean, we call her Jeannie Cady. That's not how you'd pronounce her names from the books, but like the love for Jeannie Cadee in the room is wild. And the amount of time that is spent talking about her versus Chesmo versus Ispan versus Rihanna, like everyone knows all of them and all of their character traits in a way that I think would shock people.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear it being spoken about more publicly when the show is over and have, some more behind the scenes interviews and discussions and just see the love that I can just feel that the writers room has. I love that. Okay, so when you pitched the Wheel of Time, at the time, like you mentioned earlier, Game of Thrones was pretty much the main fantasy series. And you were really strongly believing, Wheel of Time is very matriarchal, very female forward in a world that didn't have a lot of that going on right now. Now that we have more high fantasy and more high fantasy that has these strong female characters, how do you feel Wheel of Time fits into that relevance of the whole world that's now becoming more relevant in society?
Well, I think the great thing about the Wheel of Time, and when I pitched it, because people have tried to make Wheel of Time TV shows and movies before, but the way that I pitched it and saw it coming in was really that, at that time in my career, I was being approached to do a lot of these big projects because of the pieces I'd done previously in TV and features. And so, what I felt when I was reading and looking at a lot of them was that they were chasing something. And my pitch was that Wheel of Time is chasing nothing. Wheel of Time is its own entity, and that it is what other things have been chasing for a long time. And that if you really stick to what it is, and we'll always lean into the pieces of it that feel fresher today, we have to, like, that's just part of the adaptation that we're doing. And that won't change, but that Wheel of Time itself is not chasing Game of Thrones. It is not chasing Lord of the Rings. It is something that exists on its own, and other things will chase it someday and are now. Even like people talk about Wheel of Time as a comp for things that they're trying to make because of the success the show's had. And I think also that just in the way Wheel of Time is not just about women either. It's about sort of gender and balance in the world. And I actually think those messages still feel very fresh and very interesting today. And that, like, there's a lot of pockets within that Robert Jordan opened that the books don't fully go into, but that we can look at in the show, and that can be things that we develop further. So I think it's just as fresh and relevant today as it was when I pitched it, which is, like 4 or 5 years ago now. But I think at its core, it is because it's not chasing, because it's sort of driving its own path.
Yeah.
Okay. So since we mentioned other attempts, there's a lot of Billy Zane love going on in chat right now. Another question from the user submitted was from Katie. She wanted to know if you could share any fun stories from filming on season 1 or season 2, like, behind the scenes, like, oh, so-and-so did this or whatever.
Oh my God, there's so many crazy things. We did do, I think I can talk about this, Joanna, maybe.
Joanna can yell at you in the chat if
we did. So when Rosamund won her Golden Globe for I Care a Lot, we presented it to her on set, and did so we had this scene. It was a scene in Faldara where it was like that core group of 7 were together, and so we did it because I like pranks, and the Golden Globes people had contacted my office to see what to do with her Golden Globe, and I was like, send it to me, I've got a plan. And
fantastic.
So we sent it. They did this whole thing, where she's basically does one of her classic Moraine, like, we leave at dawn, and then storms out of the room. And so she's supposed to do that, and it's all set up, and we're shooting the first shot of the scene, and she's doing her beautiful speech, and then she goes to we leave at dawn, and then Lan doesn't go with her because in his bag is the Golden Globe, and then she is trying to stay in character as Moraine and convince Lan to come with her, and then he instead presents her with her Golden Globe.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. I love Daniel so much.
Amazing. So fun. Okay, Bridget from the community would like to know what WOT, I just had to clarify what, if any, fan theories about the show have left you completely flabbergasted.
Oh my God, I sadly, and I really wish I did have more time to engage. I'm so busy making the show that I don't get to read a lot of the stuff online. So what I do hear it is like, it'll come into our writers room group chat, or like people will throw in and they'll be like, did you know that the fans think X? And we're like, here's the other thing is sometimes it's very correct where they've picked up on something so tiny, but that we've set in place that we're going to pay off in like season 3. I'm trying to think of any of the ones that I thought were particularly hilarious, because there were so many really good ones for season 1, but it was a long time ago now, and I'm trying to remember any of the ones that we had like a real crack up about.
I mean, Bella's the creator is always a good one.
Well, we have the book fan theories, and those we love and try to do nods to in the show. But there's also, I was thinking of like the crazy show fan theories that they have, and also the people who don't know the books but have theories about what's going to happen in the show. Some of those are I don't know if you look at those, but they're like, if I ever have time to read the internet, I am reading exclusively those because they're so hilarious.
So interesting, yeah,
they're great. So I gave you no answers to your question, and
it's fine. That was a ton of fun.
You know, we don't have specifics, but we know that they exist. So keep those fan theories coming and entertain our writers.
Yeah, entertain the writers at the very least.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of entertaining the writers,
yeah. Have you? So James submitted. Do you share any of the memes and GIFs that the fans have created amongst yourselves?
Yes, we definitely do. There's a lot of water and shade in the office. There's a lot of we really love, especially there's like a special love for the intersection of drag queen culture and Wheel of Time memes that we really get behind. And there's one of our writers, Justine Gilmer, does her GIF work is like on an Oscar worthy level. Like what any writer on the show would tell you, that one of Justine's most significant characteristics is her ability to, in nanoseconds, deliver the perfect GIF. And she has a lot of Wheel of Time ones. She has like, the Moraine turning around to look at Rand after he says no to her is a very effective GIF in chat. So if you want, get Justine on here and she will give you instantaneous, perfect GIF work.
I love it.
I think the answer is yes. We do want her here. So feel free anytime, any moment, we will work around her. Okay, so as you mentioned previously, you don't have a lot of time for the internet, but I'm guessing you have some free time sometimes, occasionally, maybe just a couple minutes. What media are you consuming? Are you watching any TV shows, playing video games, cooking, knitting sweaters? How do you unwind?
How do I unwind is a good question. So, because I don't get too many moments of downtime. We do, sometimes it's funny because in some ways, like I try to watch a lot of other shows, obviously, that are like this show or that are, doing interesting things that I think are interesting in television and film. Like I even though I have literally no time, I've still watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, like 3 times this year. So there's things that you have to find, but sometimes I just need my brain to like shut down and not be doing anything whatsoever. And I watched this show in the UK called Taskmaster. I don't know. I'm obsessed with it right now. I've just finished season 5 today. So if I ever get a spare moment right now in my life for the last couple months, because I get to watch like 1 episode of Taskmaster a week, but that is my special Rafe time, is just watching Taskmaster.
That's great.
Amazing choice. Such
I gotta watch
show.
it now.
Oh, it's so good, Tom.
It's great. You'll love it.
So we're getting down toward the end of our interview right now, but we have a lot of fun questions that we wanted to get to from the community. Rapunzel, since you brought up being particularly liking pranks before, Rapunzel asked, are there any fun ones that you can share, and have any come close to Maureen and Suan's level from the book? And no is a perfectly acceptable answer.
I'm trying to think of any of them that I can share, because we have a lot of them. What can I share?
I think the fact that you have to go through the Rolodex of pranks in your head to figure out which ones are shareable is funny.
Excellent Wheel of Time pranks. One that I did, this was awful, actually. I felt terrible about it afterwards. But when we wrapped on season 2, and it had been such, or wrapped on season 1, sorry, such a hard shoot on everyone because it was during COVID, and like we were back and forth, and we were all like literally forced to like live alone in rooms in our place, just alone all the time, so that we wouldn't bring, me and the cast, and like the director and writer, so that we wouldn't bring COVID to the set. So it was like very, very emotionally hard. And at the end of the season, when we wrapped, we had a party, and like we'd not seen each other socially for a long time. And Yosha had asked me if he could shave his head, because we had a plan. You've seen images from season 2. And because Yosha likes to wear his hair shaved. And so he shaved it and came to the party. And then he got there, and we did a whole prank where AK, one of the other producers on the show, texted Yosha saying, I'm trying to get hold of Rafe. We have to do one more scene tomorrow with you. Hair and makeup's already gone home. And like did this whole prank about him having to shoot another scene, and we didn't have a hair and makeup team for his hair. And then I found this sweet, sweet, sweet man that Yosha is in the other room talking to his agent, being like, I think I have to change my flight home because I'm shooting this scene tomorrow, and Rafe's gonna do my hair and makeup. Like it was such chaos, and so it made me sad, but it was a pretty good prank. I'm still waiting to be got back for that
one, which is very smart to keep you waiting, because that anticipation, and you're always on ready.
I never see Yosha and don't have a slight bit of tension in my soul that he's about to get me back for that horrible prank.
Which really I'm sure is totally healthy.
He's the queen of pranks, so maybe he's going after her for it instead.
Okay. Okay, Giada would like to know if you could help give the Wheel of Time fandom an official name. What would you call us?
I mean, I feel like, is it because we're moving away from Twitter? Twitter of Time, I feel like, has been a nice name for the fandom. And I don't know if you guys know this, but like they do like, these sort of like statistics on different fandoms for big projects like this. And the Wheel of Time fandom is statistically the best fandom.
We have proof, scientific proof.
Like in terms of being kind and positive, like for our show, I know there's the crazies, but like it's something like 70% of people who've read all 14 books think the show is as good or better than the books, which is a crazy number. It's not a lot of the online community necessarily who interact with it, but like of the wider world of people who, love Wheel of Time, like consistently, statistically, Wheel of Time will come in and like deliver that it's like the nicest, the most welcoming, like all of these things. It's a really beautiful fandom. So we should come up with like a perfect name for it.
Yeah, put your writing. You just wrapped writing, so
well, not all that the holidays, and then we have
there you go. Okay, fine.
we don't want to get in trouble with any unions. So we have to end on one fun note. So the very last should be easy for you. What is your favorite Wheel of Time curse word?
Oh, well, it's not a curse word, but I'm obsessed when Lanford calls anyone a milk-haired pale-haired milksop.
I love that. Oh my God, that is
so good.
That's fantastic. Well, you've heard it here, folks. Pale-haired milksop. Well, thank you so much, Rafe, for coming and hanging out with us. And thank Amazon for allowing you to come in here. And, I'm sure you could beat them into submission.
No, it's very nice that they let me do it. It's great that we have the time to do it. It's so nice to see you guys.
Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the share button, notification bell, and I will see you guys on Monday for episode 1 of the rewatch of Rings of Power. See you around. Oh man, that was that was such a great interview. I want to thank Amazon and Rafe for giving us the chance to sit down and talk with him live. That was really cool, and I look forward to getting the chance to talk to him again in the future. I'm super excited for season 2. A little sad that, it's going to be probably the end of 2023 before we see it. As always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share it around with people that you think might be interested. It's a ton of help. Make sure to comment, let us know what you thought of this video and things that you'd like to see in the future. And I'll see you next time. Peace.
And that's our show. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, please subscribe, hit the like button, give us a thumbs up, or leave us a comment. We love comments, especially positive ones. And if you have any friends that are interested in the Wheel of Time, please share some of our videos with them. And as always, a huge thank you to our sponsor, Tor Books, as well as our amazing Patreon community. And if you are interested in learning about how more of this show was made or some Wheel of Time insights, you too can become a member of the Patreon community. And as always, follow us on Dragonmount with social media. And thank you so much for watching.